Let's be real, life is messy. We all wrestle with loneliness, guilt, and shame.
Having a supportive community and the right resources can make all the difference.
That's why we started Healing Unscripted.
We're just three friends on a mission to bring hope and healing.
Whether you're struggling yourself or walking alongside someone who is,
We're diving deep into the hard stuff.
With insightful guests, real talk,
and a whole lot of heart. Join us on Healing Unscripted.
Hi, friends.
Hi. Welcome to the show.
Woo, woo. Mindy Marriott. Marriott.
The one, the only, the famous, the newly half-century old.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
We made it.
We did.
And someone else turned 50.
Someone else just turned 52.
When was yours?
April 20th.
Oh my God, that's Miles' birthday. My son. You know why they say 50 and fabulous?
No.
Because there's no other choice.
Yeah.
You have to be. I mean, or you could go 50 and wah.
50 and frumpy.
Don't do
50 and frumpy.
No, not
Or
an
your
option.
only other option is 50 and fabulous. So
Agreed.
that's it.
Comparatively, this time last year, I feel so much healthier
Oh,
right now at 50
You do.
in all areas, just
That's
physically, emotionally, spiritually.
great.
I am
That's
so
awesome.
much better off.
Don't you kind of wish, though, that we felt this good, but 10 years ago, so we could like ride it out?
It's that whole wisdom piece.
Mm-hmm.
You had to earn it.
Father time.
Father time.
Where did you spend your 50th birthday?
Myself and my two amazing kids were in Maui.
Hello.
Was that the first time you'd been there?
Yes.
Was it everything you dreamed of?
And yes, and more.
Oh, wow. That's
Mhm.
great.
I went to Dana Point.
Nice.
Yes. Saw amazing family and took the kids to Universal, which I've never been before. So that was really cool.
Fun.
Yeah.
Stuff.
It was good. And then spent it with Miles for his birthday in Denver before a lot of kid time. Everyone's just so cool. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, this is like cool.
That's
we
what's
we
cool
made
with
it.
you guys then. You had this awesome time with your almost adulting kids,
Mhm.
some of them
Mhm.
adulting.
Yeah.
So fun. It
So-
is much easier and more enjoyable than when they were super tiny.
How old are your kids, Mindy?
16 and 18.
Okay. Those are good ages.
Oh, it was just amazing. They were such a joy to be around, and it was a total blast and an adventure we'll never forget.
Good.
Yeah.
I love that. And that time is precious right now because it's like ticking.
All right, let's get started. We want to hear about what brought you to Steamboat first, because you've been here for a little while.
I have been here for a little while, since 93. And I grew up in Illinois, and I had an experience my senior year of high school, which was traumatic. And I lost someone really close to me. And I knew that I needed to just get away and go to wide open spaces and move somewhere where I could start fresh. And I had visited Colorado before a lot as a kid. And the feeling I always got in the mountains was just peace, serenity, all the things that you think about, you know, when we live here now. And so I did a little road trip, and I came out here to go to school, to look at colleges. And I had a bunch of schools that I was thinking about, the normal ones people look at, CU, CSU, Regis. And Steamboat was actually a town that was a passing through for me, because I had gone up to Wyoming and then come back down. And the minute I pulled into the valley, it was the Yampa Valley curse instantly. I fell in love with the valley and spent a few days here meeting people in the valley, and then shortly realized there was a college here that I didn't even know about. And I remember meeting someone at lunch and them saying, you can go to college here and ski every day.
Sold.
And I was like, okay, this is the perfect place for me. So I fled, the day after I graduated from high school. I got in my little red Jeep Cherokee and drove to Steamboat by myself. And I'm like the quintessential person who is running away, the typical things that we hear sometimes now when we see people or hear stories about, you know, why people move to mountain towns, why, you know, they have issues when they get to the mountain towns. Well, that was me. I mean, I was escaping and trying to find anything to numb, you know, the pain that I was experiencing from losing someone so close to me. And so I took off and I found exactly what I was looking for when I first got here, which was just, you know, a community that was so full of acceptance and compassion and the beauty of the area and the fact that I could receive an education when I was here and ski and meet people. I mean, it was just like the whole package for me. So that's what led me to Steamboat.
It's so neat where you've come from there. And now you hear stories of people who came kind of for the same reasons. And then
that was me
helping them.
Mm-hmm. That was
so
me.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the background. I think you qualified.
I do. I do. And
You
I didn't
really do
even know,
qualify.
you know, I didn't even know when I was moving to Steamboat that I would end up in the position that I'm in or doing the work that I do. And I think that's the interesting part of my story is that I have come full circle in that experience that I didn't even know really was my passion and my purpose all at the same time.
What
So
were you
cool.
going to school for?
Education.
Okay.
So my first true love is early childhood. So I went to school and I received my degree in early childhood and was the executive director at Laurel Street Preschool way back in the day, and really enjoyed that, just working with the littles. It was such an amazing time in my life. Again, was that part of the, you know,
Your evolution. That was part
yeah,
of your
I think
story.
it was all part of it. And, you know, I ended up getting married here and then shortly realizing, okay, I can't, and I wanted to start a family right away. So I knew that I couldn't start a family and work in that preschool setting every single day. So I ended up starting my family and stayed home for a while. And then as a part of the plan, I evolved into healthcare. So,
And how, I think you had told me this story.
mhm.
Tell us the story about when you had run into somebody at R.E.P.S. Because that's kind of how it happened, right?
Yeah. So a friend of mine, her name's Rana Autry. She was the founder of R.E.P.S, Reaching Everyone, Preventing Suicide. She lost her son to suicide. And when I became the volunteer coordinator at Yampa Valley Medical Center, we had met and worked together to create a program in the emergency department where people could come in who were in crisis and not be supervised by a police officer or law enforcement, but rather a volunteer with lived experience and training who could sit with that person and act as their advocate and just be there as a support system for them. And so that was a really unique program at the time that had never been done before. And so we created that together.
I'd never heard of that before. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
And then I had worked with her for years on that program. And then when Rana decided to leave Steamboat and relocate, she thought that I would be a good fit for the position. So
That's how you came.
that's how that evolved.
Okay.
I worked at the hospital for a long time, for about 15 years, in a variety of different roles, which I think was also part of the evolution. I worked in public relations, human resources, volunteer services, and then shortly before my departure, I worked for the Healthcare Foundation. So I really was able to see a lot of those working parts as it relates to healthcare, and subsequently, that's helped me in my position today.
So beneficial that you had all that experience.
And I didn't know the specifics about that program in the hospital, but I did know that it existed only because myself working in the hospital, going into the ER to, I do ultrasound to scan patients. I would see the volunteers there or the representative there with the patient at bedside.
Hmm.
So is that how R.E.P.S started? It was just for advocacy, or was there like a programming involved then?
At that time, R.E.P.S was under the what is now Mind Springs Health. So it wasn't. They didn't have their own 501c3 until much later on, and so the programming essentially was, we're going to provide this opportunity, for volunteers to assist the staff at the hospital to help with this one specific program. Also at the time, they did begin the free counseling program. And at that time, until about 10 years ago, R.E.P.S offered 3 free sessions for anyone in the community. And obviously since then, that program has grown, as well as all the other programs that we offer.
Well, tell us about the programs that you offer.
Okay.
I mean, tell us what
Okay.
R.E.P.S is now,
Yeah.
and like where you've grown it to be.
So for the people that don't know, R.E.P stands for Reaching Everyone, Preventing Suicide. And our mission is to preserve, protect, and promote life by raising awareness and providing a lifeline of support and healing in our community.
Amazing.
So it is a beautiful statement.
That is a beautiful statement.
And so we offer several different programs in the community. We do in-school education. We offer a variety of free trainings in the community. We do a suicide prevention advocate program, which is similar to what I just talked about, but it's volunteers who offer an extra layer of support for people who might not be interested in traditional therapy or might need an extra layer of support while seeing a therapist. And it's essentially someone that just checks in with them on a regular basis, or whatever that relationship looks like, that they create. And it's a really amazing program. I call those people the angels of the valley, because they really are people that are so dedicated and compassionate to mental health and suicide prevention, and work with these people out of the goodness of their own hearts and just wanting to give back. So that's a really special program. But the biggest program and the most utilized program is our confidential and complimentary counseling. So we offer 5 sessions of therapy or counseling to anyone in our community with 0 barriers. So there's no application or, economic status, or it's just, if you need the support, we're here to provide it to you. And we have currently about 75 different providers that contract with us.
Wow.
Some of those will meet in person, and also telehealth options for people that aren't comfortable or for whatever reason don't have transportation, or just can't get to an in-person appointment therapy.
How
for
do people go about getting hooked up with those services?
So there's a couple different ways. You can reach out to us directly through our website or our phone number, or you can go on our website and self-refer yourself. So there's a process on our website for how to get started, and it takes less than 5 minutes. And we ask a couple simple questions, just more specifically about what are you struggling with, just so we can collect data on who are the people in the valley that we're serving and what are the most common issues that we're seeing. So then we can do our own targeting marketing around how to help those people more. So yeah, 2 ways. So through our website, you can go on and do it yourself, or you can call us and we'd be happy to help you and listen and make a recommendation.
What's the turnaround time if they fill out the information on the website? What's the turnaround time that they get, someone reaches back out to them?
So we have the client themselves reach out to the provider. So that's instant.
Okay.
So the minute they go through and fill out the new client form, we have them choose a provider and reach out to them instantly.
Oh, perfect.
Every provider's availability obviously is a little different. So that can vary. However, if someone calls us and we listen to what it is they're struggling with, based on what we know about the provider and their schedules and what the person's struggling with, we can usually get people connected within 2 days, which
Fantastic.
it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
And the really cool thing about our providers is they contract with us because they believe in what we do and our mission, and they want to help people who are struggling. And so they make our clients a priority.
Oh, wow.
So, for instance, if someone were to call me and they had a situation and I thought of a provider in my head that would be a perfect fit, I would just reach out to the provider and explain the situation. And if the provider had an opening or was able to shift some things around, they would be able to get that person in. In fact, I was able to get someone in on Christmas Eve. So within the same day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Amazing.
What about the volunteers? Can they kind of step in as a help support
Yes.
while they're waiting to get in?
Yeah.
to account
So
for
the
their team?
suicide prevention advocates that I was talking about, we often utilize them in that capacity. So we'll say, here's someone that we've just connected, but it's going to be a week or two before they're able to get in to see someone, which usually doesn't happen. But if it does happen, then they're able to, like you said, connect with them, and whether it's just on the phone or meet them for coffee or whatever it might be to start helping them navigate, are there other things going on, or are there other resources that you might need that I can assist you with? So
I love that. I think a lot of people don't know that we're not just calling this number because you're having major depression. What are the other issues people will call you for that they can get counseling for? Because I don't think a lot of Steamboat knows.
yeah, no, that's a great question. We have a lot of people that are reaching out for relationship issues. I would say that's probably one of our most common. People that are going through a divorce or a bad breakup, or even the loss of a pet, or they might be struggling with substance use. These are all ways we can connect people to specific therapists that specialize in certain things. Another common call that I get are people who have something traumatic happen in their life, and it triggers things that happened in their life previously that they've realized they never dealt with.
Right.
Or did the hard work, is what I like to call it. And so oftentimes that's a loss. Oftentimes that's a suicide loss, the loss of a friend, whether it be from suicide or an accident or, a terminal illness. Those are all reasons why people call us. And oftentimes they just are lost and they don't know where to go with their grief. And so we're able to connect them with the right people to help them do the hard work.
Well, the
love
beauty
it.
of that is what you're saying is you've already done the work in finding the providers. And like you said, good fits for certain issues. So people can call in. They don't have to do that legwork themselves, which they're usually not in the frame of mind to do that. And you can just step in and say, this is the best fit for you.
Yeah, and that we do like to say, all of our services are confidential, and they are within our organization, of course. But if someone calls and they're willing to share, then we can better connect them, with the right person that we think would be the best fit for them based on what it is they're experiencing.
Are all your accounts? I know you're so excited. I love you. I did before I forget it though. All your therapists, are they all local or are they all in just Colorado? Like how spread out are they?
They're all in Colorado. They're not all local. We probably have maybe 5 or 6 that are on the Front Range or in the Denver area, which is great
Yeah.
for an opportunity because, as we all know, Hannah, living here for 30 some years,
Yeah.
everyone is connected.
Yeah.
At least it feels that way for me. And oftentimes people don't want to go see someone that,
They're going to see. at the grocery
their
store.
kid's on my kid's soccer team, or
That's
my
true.
friend's teacher, or, there's just so many different little connections
That is true.
that it's nice to give people an option to see someone in person on the Front Range or down in Denver or on telehealth.
So will those counselors or therapists come here, or is it mostly telehealth?
Mostly telehealth. I have 2 that do come up here because they have family here. So there are opportunities for people to see them in person here.
How many volunteers? You were saying that
Spa volunteers, suicide prevention
How
advocates.
many do you have?
We have about 15 of those.
Cool.
And they're amazing people, but we're also always willing to grow that. The more,
that's a great goal.
The more,
What would be what would be like your goal number? Like if you were like, oh, tomorrow, if we had this many.
On your vision board.
I would say close to 50.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Because, right, everyone comes with their own set of skills, their own personal experience. They've been on their own journeys. And so it's nice to have all demographics and, all ages and genders and identities. And the more people we have that fit all the people that we're trying to serve, the better. Mm-hmm. So it's, I would almost say like an unlimited number. And we hold trainings all the time to bring in new volunteers. And, we're always hosting a variety of different ways to become involved with the organization. So
that's good to know.
Yeah, it's good to promote to the fact that you are always looking for volunteers.
Right. And not all volunteers are into that one-on-one, I want to work with clients type thing. I mean, we have fundraising that we do. We have a lot of volunteers that are like, oh, I'm not touching that, but I'm your girl when it comes to, doing some fundraising or special events. We do so many special events throughout the year and a lot of collaborations with other businesses and organizations in the community. So we're always looking for volunteers to step in whatever way it's comfortable for them. Mm-hmm. So we want to make it a good fit for the volunteer as well.
It takes a community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's awesome.
We're going to have to come help out.
Yeah, I know.
I would love to. And still, I think with our combined experience of whatever, grief, loss, addictions, traumas, yeah, it makes sense to bring people in who've gone through different stuff.
Exactly. And that all becomes prevention again, right?
Yep.
So it's, that's how I see it, is that's how we're going to sustain this organization, is just by continuing to open this up, the conversation around mental health and suicide prevention, and reduce stigma and have vulnerable conversations with one another about it. And that's sharing those stories is really the impactful part. Yeah. And so I love that you said that, because so many people that were once our clients who are thriving are now our volunteers.
Mm-hmm. I see that.
And so it's really special to see that healing journey take place.
I love that. That's in my mind. I have this goal of where I can see, people complain about politics and sides and causing division. And I really do believe we as humanity, we as a community, we can really just start these small changes in helping people, and we can completely change people's lives. They don't have to have some great big system in place to, why isn't their Medicaid working in them? They need someone to talk to who can empathize with them and then can help walk them through it. And not like it'll solve everyone's problems, but if you have counselors out there willing to, and emergency departments are prepared for it, we have crisis teams for it, we have all these resources for it. And then you have the volunteers out there.
Okay, by the way, I can't stop talking about that movie to my clients and just whoever will listen, because it really did shed a huge light on a topic that we know is happening, but nobody really talks about it. And I think that's one of the things that I know we're all very passionate about, is creating an opportunity for other people to hear what is happening, because newspapers don't report on it. It's not something you want to hear on the radio, and no one's talking. You got to hear about it in the grocery store. You got to hear about it mouth to mouth, or sorry, not mouth to mouth, but you know what I mean.
That's CPR.
Word of mouth. Word of mouth, I think is what you meant.
Okay, so I just turned 50, and the brain fog thing is real.
I can empathize.
And actually, we're hoping to get like Altera involved in this as well. So we'll help. But
I think they would be glad to. I think this issue and this topic has been a long time coming for them.
It is.
And I think the more people that we're losing in mountain towns, especially mountain staff, it makes an impact. And unfortunately, sometimes it takes a high profile loss or a significant loss for
People to wake up.
Exactly. The data reports that in a normal city, this would be far higher in Steamboat or in the Yampa Valley, but in a normal city, one suicide loss will impact 155 people. In our town, it's like 4 times that many.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
What are your thoughts on that mountain town phenomena that we're talking about? What have you seen or what have you learned from that?
Well, essentially people who have experienced some type of traumatic event and then have escaped to a mountain town thinking my life's going to be better when I'm there because it's beautiful and all the things. And then they get here not having done the hard work, just escaping, which is the easy thing. And then finding out once they get here, it's really hard to live here. I know when I moved here, I was working 3 jobs and going to school. And so that's like automatic pressure and the cost of living. There are some interesting data studies around elevation.
Yes.
And mental health and the fact that SSRIs don't absorb as well in our bodies at altitude.
Heard something like this.
I've heard this for a while. You and I have talked about that, I think.
Well, I've heard
It's
studies
fascinating.
on every 1,000 feet you go up in elevation. And I'm interested in looking into them. You'll have to send me some if you have that.
Yeah.
Because how does elevation affect?
Well, they're just
Your
saying
mental
that the oxygen levels, like it's,
That's all it's contributed to?
well,
And the medication
and the
absorption.
medication. So people that may already suffer with depression or anxiety or whatever it may be, the medication doesn't work. It's not working as well as it normally would.
Because of
If
the
we-
elevation.
Exactly.
That
I wonder
is
if
so
that-
interesting.
I wonder if that affects people who aren't on an SSRI, who are just going to have problems with their serotonin uptake, because that's what causes you to have your natural happiness. So I wonder, it must be affecting people's, because there's a lot of people who don't want to be on an antidepressant, right?
Right.
So it's got to be affecting their serotonin
Yeah.
natural levels as well as you go up in elevation, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and I definitely think another issue here is just like you were talking about isolation for a lot of people. I mean, we think Steamboat, like the mountain, but we're rural. And there's a lot of people who struggle with transportation and all the access to guns we have being in Northwest Colorado. That, I
And
mean,
then you add in then the acceptable thing to do is drink.
well, it's
And
party
then-
culture, right?
then you-
That was part of the film too,
Yeah.
as well, and that's what every mountain town
And
sees.
huge
Eagleville
place.
sees the same thing, and it's like work hard, play hard,
Mm-hmm.
but that only works for so long
It
because I
catches up with
did
you.
that.
I did that.
Yeah. It sounds fun.
It was fun.
But it wears you down and it's exhausting. And, it only worked for me for so long until I realized, whoa, like I have to do some work here because I have things that are down in there that I never really dealt with. And then the positive side of that is there's like so much joy and so much light at the other side of that hard work. And a lot of people I feel like are scared to do the hard work because it is scary and it does take effort. But the other side of it is so just,
Rewarding.
yes, and just calming and just,
Peaceful.
Yeah.
green.
it's like you have to get through the muck to get to the green pasture.
And I love that your organization has people to help facilitate that, whether it being just having a conversation or referring them to all the many programs that we have in our small community, which reminds me that a lot of people don't know about R.E.P.S.
I agree, but I don't think people had understood that anyone can call you. So now that we're getting into our own journey, so I'll have people randomly text me questions and I'm like, you can just call reps and you can get some counseling for your sister-in-law, for your brother.
Or your
It's
child.
available. And so that's why I wanted to bring it up. People think I have to be suicidal, ready to jump off the cliff.
Right.
And then there's the service available to me. But it's
No,
not
this-
that.
no,
Like, does anyone get turned away
No.
who calls you
No.
for help?
No.
Well, like she said,
Some
people
way.
were calling about losses of pets, so it's any scale of,
Doesn't have to be an emergency.
right.
Right. It's
So how can we help, like as a community, get reps? Because I believe you were talking to some people today and saying what we were doing. They're like, oh, what's that? And so we want to stop that because these actually are men who are in that.
this is
realm
the
that would-
demographic that we're losing.
Yeah.
The demographic that we've seen,
Is
a
men
larger 22 to 47,
and typically gunshot wounds.
and typically firearm.
And it's men that
Men-
is the highest
Men
percentage.
is correct. That is who we're losing in the valley. A lot of people think suicide is like a youth issue, and that's where I think we've made a tremendous impact, is being in all the schools. And we're in the middle school and the high school every single quarter. And we have a youth ambassador program, and those are youth, like-minded youth kids that are just like youth that are just passionate about mental health and supporting one another.
That is so amazing.
Safe spaces. And so that's a really cool program that we have. And I think we're doing amazing work with youth, but it's that male demographic, which is the hardest demographic to reach. And I will tell you, though, we have seen quite large of an increase the past couple of years with men reaching out because they're hearing our ads on the radio. They're reading like marketing ads, targeted marketing ads towards men that we're working really hard with. And then some of the articles, the Mental Health Minute articles that we're doing in the newspaper, they're seeing our stickers or our magnets in bars and restaurants.
That's great.
In bathrooms or
What about on the buses? Do you have anything advertising on the bus?
I don't think we do, but that's a great idea.
Well, I say that
bus
because
stops, too.
SELA, I work for SELA, which is a pregnancy crisis
Right.
center, and we've gotten a lot of calls from
the
the
bus.
bus.
I know we're not allowed to put anything like in the bus when you're waiting.
To stop.
Yes, but I think on the bus, that's a great idea.
It's a
Another marketing idea.
Captive audience.
Mm-hmm.
They're just sitting there writing along in their own thoughts, and they look up and they see that.
But we're really trying to put our stickers with our QR code and the information on our stickers or our magnets all over town, just so people recognize that, although we're not a 24/7 crisis clinic, you do recommend 988 24/7. And then our QR code is on there so people can scan it wherever they are and save our information into their phone. And I actually have gotten calls from people who didn't even know about 988, but saw our sticker and just saved our information in their phone, and something came up and they remembered that they had done that and saved our information in their phone. So they did call us, and it was a crisis, and we did assist, obviously. But as long as that information is getting spread out more into the community, we keep having conversations like this, and people recognize that there are people out there, and our organization specifically, that is there to assist people with whatever struggle it is that you're having, because for me, I just feel like that's the whole purpose of REPS, is to create a sense of community where people feel seen and heard, and they know that they have value.
They know they have someone to go
That's beautiful.
to.
I think it's amazing. I love your story and your transparency about just your journey. And I love that you started out as, the kid that you're trying to help now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was right along there with you. Mindy and I have known each other for 30 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a fun journey. And here we are talking about trying to help our community. And we love this community. And thank you for doing what you do, because we need this. And it takes someone to say yes to the position that they never thought that they were going to ever take. So thank you for doing that. I know you go on a lot of these calls, these suicide calls. How do you process that? Because, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a 911 dispatcher. You have to kind of
Like, she's
come
there.
down from that.
She's on scene.
She's on scene.
Or a first responder.
Yeah. So a lot of ways. I don't think it's one thing. I would say self-care is my first priority. Sometimes, I'm there for 2 hours. Sometimes I'm there for 8 hours. Every situation is different. So especially with who's left behind. Sometimes it's a large group. Sometimes it's nobody, like one person. Sometimes it's an entire family. You just never know. And so prioritizing self-care is huge. I do a lot of debriefing with my teammates and therapists that specialize working with people who work with trauma. So that's super helpful. And in terms of the self-care, I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of meditation. I do a lot of somatic work and my faith. And so I have relied on my faith a lot in my whole life, especially in high school and then just my adult life here. And I just think all of those things combined are what keeps me in this. It's because it's not really, people say, oh, this must be your passion. And it's like, well, passion is like what sparked the fire, but it's really my purpose is what keeps me in the job. It's like the firewood that you keep adding to the fire. That's the purpose, because the passion was just out of a traumatic experience. But the passion is really what drives me to keep me doing this work.
I'm sure you get a lot of thank yous throughout this community.
Oh, I do.
Just for showing
Everyone
up.
loves you.
I do. No,
I mention your name and everyone's like, oh my God, I love her.
You have a reputation.
That's
A
good.
good reputation.
Well, okay, good.
I mean, but right? Like you're there when people need you.
Well, I'm stepping in essentially in someone's worst time of their life.
Exactly.
So, and I didn't mention this in the beginning, but I grew up in a family that was mirrored to me on a daily basis. So, on my mom's side of the family, they were in the funeral business. So I grew up around aunts, uncles, cousins, my mom, working with people during the worst times of their life in trauma and grief. And so I think it was kind of innate and built into who I was, that like it was part of the plan that I was supposed to do this all along. And it just took me a little while to get there. But
It's incredible.
Timing is everything.
This November will be my 10-year anniversary with R.E.P.S.
And how long has R.E.P.S been active and
Since 2012.
Okay.
Is there anything that you've seen or that you've studied that we as a community, especially as like a mom, sister, wife, friends in our community, is there anything that we can do or should be doing, talking about more to these my oldest son is 25. I have one who's 22. So they're in that range and we've experienced some hard times. So what is it that works to talk about or to look out for?
Yeah, I think being open and honest and vulnerable and not being scared to ask the question, you seem a little off. Is this my imagination? I'm seeing you do this, or I'm hearing you say this and this, that's concerning to me. I care about you. I love you. Are you thinking about suicide? Like, not being scared to say the word. Because people that are thinking about it, once they hear you ask that question, it is like, I've been seen and I've been heard, and yes, I have, or no, but thank you for asking. You're validating them and you're giving them an opportunity to make those feelings like you're validating them and you're making them feel heard. So I think having regular, open, and honest conversations with your family members or your friends about how are you doing really, and I think we're getting better at that as a community. And I think a lot of businesses and organizations are making mental health more of a priority. during staff meetings or during whatever check-ins they have on a regular basis. But it is going to take everybody. And I say this all the time. I sound like a broken record, but it is going to take every single person in this community to change the narrative around suicide prevention. And it's going to take all of us to make a suicide safer community. And we all have to be open to it. We all have to buy into asking the question and checking in with our people on a regular basis, even if it seems awkward or annoying. Like, those days are gone, where we're like, oh, it's not my business, or I don't want to pry, or, oh, that's not my, that's not my child, so I don't want to say anything. It's
That
like,
was our parents and grandparents' generation for sure, of the secrecy, and we act this way
we
in
don't
our
wanna pry.
house. Yeah.
Mind your own business.
Yes.
yeah, I mean, when I lost my friend my senior year, that was back when you didn't even say the word suicide. So I had to live for years with the fact that, wait, was it suicide or was it an accident? And then, so I did a lot of that, like, oh no, it was an accident, it was an accident, an accident. Well, now I know, no, it was an accident. Like, he killed himself. So I just think having open conversations about how we're all feeling and how we're all doing with our own mental health, and that struggling or being faced with challenging times that you don't know how to navigate is totally normal. And like, let a professional help you work through this, because we were not born to figure all this out on our own. I mean,
No. And then when you go into stressors or trauma and major grief, you're not even on a plane to think straight, to figure out where to go and what to do. That's when you need someone to come and say, this is where you need to go.
and
I
it's
think
so
you
nice.
should talk to
It's so
someone.
nice when people call and they're like, I'm really overwhelmed by the website. And it can be overwhelming. And we did just revise it to make it a little less overwhelming, a little more streamlined. But it's nice when people call and admit that, and then we can say, okay, we'll walk you through it. Like, where do you want to start? Because not everyone has the ability, especially when they're in a crisis situation or they're having a, anxiety attack or whatever it might be, to scroll through the website and, okay, step one, that's like,
Too
I
much.
just need a number. Like,
Yeah.
I just need a number to call. And so
You want to talk, you want to hear a human voice.
Mhm.
I think that's mostly it.
it
That would be it for me.
yeah.
Like, I just want a connection.
Yeah. And that's why 988, we have to utilize 988, because we're not 20.
So you talk about people checking in with each other, and I know there's a trend with the men being highest in the suicide rate, because do you feel that they just have the hardest time checking in with each other, or maybe the stigma around men are supposed to be tough and don't act like a girl or whatever? They're innate, like they grow up that way, right? When you
Yeah. I
have
think,
a little boy, you say, don't cry, don't be a girl, men are tough.
right.
Do you
But
feel like
I think
that's why?
I think we're changing that. I think we're making some progress. Because even when we're in the schools, the kids in the class, the guys are the ones that are all raising their hand and asking the
Good.
questions. And I think it's becoming more of a normal conversation. And I hope that continues.
Good. Yeah.
That's exciting news.
But that's going to take time.
It does.
That's
it
a
takes,
generational thing that'll just take time.
I want to switch it around. I want to start a campaign that's like, healing is sexy, men.
Right.
Or you
Yeah.
want to know what's hot,
Yeah.
not gym, tan, whatever.
Gym bros.
Gym bros, but like healing bros.
Yeah.
Like, let's start like a new.
Oh, you have a healthy mind? That's sexy.
That's hot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go there.
Let's just add these
You go to
ad
counseling.
wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Sounds like we're a good match.
I agree.
Exactly.
What is this campaign you're starting?
I'm telling you, there's nothing sexier right now. I'm single, so I can say this, but for just a man who's on a healing journey or healed, like, I'm like that, because it's hard work. So they did the hard work, and they did it for themselves, their family, their loved ones, and for their future me. So, but you know what I mean? Like, so if we can change that narrative, like, you don't need a hot car or, this. What we really want is healing and
Emotional maturity.
emotional maturity. Yeah. Emotional maturity.
That's it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. We're going to
Wow, this
let's
new
get on
campaign
that.
we're starting.
No.
Let us know the next time you have a big fundraiser because we're going to come support you. And I think Liana's going to start her campaign.
She'll be passing out flyers.
Yeah. Let's make some stickers.
I like it.
We can put those in the bus too.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
This is awesome. Any more stats that you want to share with us about suicide rates in the Valley? We talked a little bit about it. It's going to be on a few of our episodes and our reels beforehand. But do you have anything offhand you wanted to share with us that so people are more aware and they can say this is happening?
Yeah. I can share that in the state of Colorado, suicide is the second leading cause of death for people 12 to 44.
Huge. I think a lot of it is that like car accidents.
That's what I was assuming.
It must
Yeah.
be accidents that are you can't even predict them.
Mhm.
Not that you can predict a suicide, but there are things that you can notice in someone who is that you're close to. You can tell that something is wrong. And a good friend of mine said, with men, boys, young men, the more blunt and honest that you are, like they need something concrete and specific. It can't be like, how was your day today? It needs to be, there is something wrong with you. If there's something wrong, I want you to be able to tell me about it. We have to be asking our boys and young men these very specific questions. They have to be blunt and to the point where it feels uncomfortable for you to say it. But if we want to take care of them, we got to just put it out there.
Right. It should be like an open conversation. I don't know, like high-low, we played all throughout the time the kids
we
were
do
growing
that
up.
too.
Then you can open up the conversation. Well, tell me more about that.
Yep.
What was that like? Or just dinner conversation,
Right.
like everyday conversation.
Right.
Not how was your day at school, but
Fine.
Right.
Good.
Yeah.
No, because highs and lows happen every day. I liked that we started that too. So
Yeah.
you're not just faking it every day. How was your day? Was it wonderful? What was the favorite part of your day? Let's talk about what was the hard part of your day? What was a bummer that happened today?
I also think just opening up to your kids and letting them know that just because you're seeing a therapist or you're recommending they see a therapist or go to counseling is not because you think there's something wrong with them or they need help. But the way I always just talked about it was think about all the skills you're going to learn that you don't have or didn't have before. Where would you be in a year without those skills? And look at where you are now. Look at all the things you have learned about what triggers you specifically, what calms you down, what's your self-care routine, the ways you've learned about journaling or how music impacts you. Or, my kids have learned so much through their experiences with therapy and counseling. And we talk about it all the time. Like, I wonder what life would be like if you hadn't been on this journey. And they're like, we don't even want to talk about it. They're
That's
like,
cool that they
because
recognize
it's so, and we're talking about teenagers. And so my recommendation would be if you were open to it, talk to your kids about, hey, you may not think that you need this. I don't even know if you need it, but you never know what you're going to learn about yourself and who you are along this journey. And so,
Do you have a lot of parents calling in to R.E.P.S asking for help for their teens?
I do. And so oftentimes could be something as simple as, I've noticed a behavior change. Other times it's more specific, like they're speaking suicide language, like there's some suicide ideation happening, or, there was a traumatic event. And so I'd like to get them some support. So all of those reasons are the perfect reason to call. And we have amazing therapists that are youth specific that work in a variety, that have a variety of skill sets specific for youth only. So I feel like we have someone for everybody.
I agree. I love it.
When we were at your movie premiere, I was noticing that people weren't using the terminology committed suicide.
Oh, that's right. We did talk about that.
So
So that's a language change
Thank
that
you.
has happened in the past
That was a
15
great
years.
question.
Well, because I brought this up on our last
Yes.
podcast when we were talking about it, and I couldn't remember the verbiage.
Right. And it's simply because we've gone away from the negative connotation that the word committed means, because we, link it to crimes and murder and things like that. So we've gone away with saying the word committed because it automatically presents a negative. And so dying by suicide and sticking to the actual factual what has occurred, dying by suicide or took their life or killed themselves, is the appropriate way to speak
Okay.
about suicide now.
Yeah, put it out there.
And
Don't mince words
right.
anymore.
And then we went from committed to completed.
Yeah, I heard that.
And then that
the
was,
one.
and then that was like, no, we
Completed.
don't want to complete. No, we're not saying that, because then that's the opposite, right? It's like, I completed my task. Like, I've won. Like, I should.
So I heard all those words, and I saw people trip themselves up because they started to say commit,
and that's okay.
and then they stopped, and then I was like, "There's something here. Someone's changing the verbiage, and I want to know why." But that's great.
In our trainings that we do, we talk a lot about language and how the language has evolved. So we have like 3 or 4 slides all about this is how it started and how people used to speak about it, and this is where we're at now.
So can you say again what terminology
What terminology?
you're using
So
today?
we're using die by suicide, or my friend died by suicide, or my friend took their life, or my friend killed themselves.
Okay.
So we're trying to stay away from things like they committed suicide, or they completed suicide, or it was a successful suicide. We've even heard that. So, and we understand that everyone's trying to do their best when they're learning, right? So it's going to happen. People slip up all the time, but we're not going to say, oh, you shouldn't say that. It's just the appropriate language that we use.
I like that you just did the straight out, because it doesn't sugarcoat any of it. So when you're talking to a kid, like, are you thinking about committing suicide? No. Are you thinking about killing yourself? They need to see it. They need to hear it. They need to visualize it. You
Right.
know, I think that's beautiful that you guys do that. It did catch me, and I have not been able to remember the verbiage, so I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
that was it.
Thanks.
Good one, Liana.
She
Thank
needed
you.
that.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank
to
you.
come and
It's
sit
my
with
pleasure
us
to come on.
and share. It means a lot to us, and I know it'll mean a lot to the community too, to hear more about what you offer.
And I'm so proud of you for what you do.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I get the passion versus the purpose part. I'm so glad that that's when you have to have faith to keep moving you forward, because completing your purpose is hard.
It is hard. Trust me, I've spent a lot of months of a lot of years praying about, did I stay in this role? Am I in the right role? Should I move on to something else? And I am 100% fully filled with contentment that this is where I'm supposed to be.
That's beautiful. You're doing
Not
a
everybody
great
can
job
say
on
that.
your purpose.
Thank you.
A couple of grown-ups. All of us are grown-ups.
Look at you guys, all grown up now. Okay, thanks for
Dating
joining us, everybody. We're going to take it out now.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.